14 years old.
Come again?
My name is Joy. I'm 14 years old.
Okay. Can you recognize this knife?
Yes.
The incident was reported on Sunday. Actually, they went to the house on Saturday evening. That was on 28th October around 4 p.m. And they moved to the house with a knife. And at the end of the day, they attacked the deceased.
Welcome back, guys. I trust you've been staying safe. Today's true crime story is coming to you out of Nigeria in West Africa. And it's one of the very terrible ones again. I say this because it's that type of true crime case that involves a very good-minded and kind-hearted woman who is trying to help a young girl, and this young girl begins to feel entitled and escalates to a point where, unfortunately, she unalives this kind-hearted woman. As we speak now, if you go to Nigeria and you mention the name Joy Afekafe, it shakes the foundations of the country because she has done something that is yet to have been done by anybody in her age bracket to date. Joy Afekafe is just 14 years old, and she is currently in police custody after having been arrested in connection with the gruesome unaliving of a lecturer of the Federal University of Technology, MENA, by name Dr. Funmilola Adefolalu. Now, Dr. Funmilola Adefolalu was a very, very kind-hearted woman, per the reports. She had a good mind for people who were in need, and obviously, by virtue of her standing in society and her profession, she was quite well-to-do. But she needed somebody to help her with chores around the house. So it was at this point, as is very typical in some African countries, that Dr. Adefolalu decided that she needed to get a house help, as some would say, or some would call a maid, or some would say a help, or a helping hand of a sort. And she found this girl, this 14-year-old girl who looked malnourished, who looked poorly kept, who looked like she needed a stable home to take good care of her, and she took her in so that she would help keep her house clean, and by virtue of that, she would also extend support to her. It's not clear whatever contract they entered into, because obviously she's 14 years, you can't enter into a contract with her because she doesn't have that capacity. She's not an adult. But some way, somehow, an understanding was reached. I'm yet to find any information that would confirm that Joy Afekafe's parents were aware of this arrangement. But eventually, Joy Afekafe was actually now living under the roof of this lecturer. So I'm sure that her parents would have been aware, because without that, she can't just leave her home and come and stay in the lecturer's home. Unless, of course, the lecturer also didn't do much due diligence, which wouldn't also be surprising given how things would unfold later. Because if the parents are aware that you are taking their daughter to go and stay with and she would help you, I think then at least there's an adult consenting to that arrangement. But if the parents are not aware, then I think the lecturer also erred, because you can't just take someone's kid like that. Even if Joy Afekafe might have agreed, like I said earlier, she's not an adult per her age, and so she lacks capacity to agree to such things. And so the lecturer would have to know better, that she would have to bypass Joy Afekafe to get to her parents or any guardian of hers, and then reach that compromise with that person. But all this is my analysis. There are no reports as to whether Dr. Funmilola Adefolalu actually reached out to the parents of Joy Afekafe before moving in with her, but ultimately they were now living together. Joy Afekafe was living in the custody of Dr. Funmilola Adefolalu, the lecturer from the Federal University of Technology, MENA, in Nigeria. things seemed good in the early days until just about 2 weeks of staying together. This kind lecturer noticed that Joy Afekafe was actually stealing from her. She confronted Joy, she confessed, she gave her a chance not to do it again, but then, allegedly, it happened again. So it became a rampant thing, and at a point in time, just about 3 weeks into their stay together, this lecturer decided that enough was enough and that Joy Afekafe should part ways with her and leave her house. Well, per what is being reported, I agree, because it's one thing needing help, it's another thing getting a sort of help which is coming with a whole headache, which no longer makes the help worth it. And when it comes to someone who is ready to steal from you, it's a red flag. You don't know the extent the person may go. Stealing and robbery are close, such that this person could even go out there and put a hit on you and get you robbed as an inside person. So I understand and appreciate why the lecturer, Dr. Funmilola, would actually come out to say that she wants Joy Afekafe to leave her home and take her help away with her. So that was exactly what she did. But unknown to the lecturer, Joy Afekafe held a grudge. She wasn't happy with how things had played out because she was very comfortable in that home, and leaving the home wasn't something that she was happy with. There is no record of whether Dr. Funmilola Adefolalu had any kids of her own, but per reports out there, it was just the two of them staying together. There are also no reports of whether, in sending Joy Afekafe away, Dr. Funmilola actually paid what she owed her as a form of salary. There is no mention of that yet. So, Joy was thrown out by Dr. Funmilola. And as far as this kind-hearted doctor was concerned, it was just another bad chapter she was moving on from. Little did she know that she had made a deadly enemy in the form of 14-year-old Joy Afekafe. Fast forward, Joy apparently went back to her neighborhood where she met two of her classmates. And this is where the whole thing takes a crazy turn. These classmates are people that she knew from school at her age. Apparently, one of them is called Walex and another is called Smart. So, Joy narrated the incident to Walex and Smart, and somehow they took offense that how can the lecturer treat Joy like that? That is not right. And Joy had also developed a sense of entitlement, so much so that she wasn't ready to leave the home. So when she was forced out, she felt she had something to claim. So when she told Walex and Smart, her two friends, and they also started inciting her against the lecturer that no, she can't do that, this is not right, you have to go back, we have to go, we go with you, we do this, we do that, we insist on this, we claim that. These three decided to turn around and go back to the lecturer to have a difficult conversation with Dr. Funmilola Adefolalu for turning away Joy Afekafe. So just like that, this lecturer who was living on her own, at least with her peace of mind, and thought that she needed help from somebody to come into her home and assist, had just like that invited trouble into her home, because the person who came in under the pretext of helping has now become an enemy, mobilizing against her without her knowledge. Unfortunately for this lecturer, Joy Afekafe, without no remorse for the good that the doctor had done for her when she was staying with her, led these two friends to her home. And then they knocked, and the mistake in hindsight that I think that the lecturer made was, When she saw it was Joy in the company of these two guys, she opened for them to come in. I believe she shouldn't have done that. I always say that a bit of paranoia is not bad, it's good. It keeps you alive. Sometimes it might be nothing, but I always say that it's better to look out for your safety and your well-being, and it turns out there was nothing to worry about, than to take it for granted or forsake it only to realize there is actually something you should have worried about, because at that time you would realize there was something to worry about. It may be too late for you to do anything to change the situation, and you are just like that, caught up in that deep, unfortunate situation. And that is what happened, unfortunately, to Dr. Funmilola Adefolalu. I think that good she has in her mind, that kind-hearted nature of hers, really didn't make her anticipate any evil possibly coming from a 14-year-old girl and the two guys that were with her. But the thing is, people are getting so evil-minded and wicked in these days. You just can't underestimate anybody, especially the youth who are coming up, because some of them are changing the record books. Some of them are showing that they can do things that hitherto nobody thought they could. So it's always imperative that you keep an eye out and maintain just a little bit of paranoia. Trust you me, it can make all the difference between seeing the next day and not seeing the next day. I digress. So they came in, and from that point, Joy Afekafe is now claiming that she was there to confront her former mistress, but unknown to her, her friends had other intentions, because as it will turn out, they struck the doctor or the lecturer with furniture. She fell, and unfortunately, they fatally stabbed her, after which they proceeded to rob her, and then they bolted. So just like that, a woman who has worked so hard, built a life and a career for herself, decided, I need help, let me get a house help. She got this house help, and now this house help has brought her headache, frustration, and eventually has conspired and helped facilitate to get her robbed and ultimately unalived in her own home. That is how dangerous some people can be. And I met a man who was talking about the fact that he's even afraid now to do good to people, because you might think you are just doing good to somebody, but the moment you extend that good step to that person, you may have actually connected to a psychopath who feels entitled and would now be trying to hold on to you to provide that support every time. Failure to do so will then result in antagonizing hatred, and that alone can escalate into something else. So it's beginning to look attractive for people not to even help, so they keep their peace. And I think it's very unfortunate that is where things are getting to. Now, nobody knew what had happened to the lecturer. That day actually ended. That day was the 28th of October. That was when Joy Afekafe and then Walex and Smart, her two friends, went to the apartment of this lecturer, Dr. Funmilola Adefolalu, and robbed and unalived her. Now, friends of this doctor were trying to reach her, and no, she wasn't picking up their calls, which was very unusual. So they lodged the report, they went to her home, and they found her in that state. Investigations would then lead to the arrest of Joy Afekafe, and she sang like a bird. According to her, she didn't know this was what her two friends had planned. She didn't have a hand in the robbery, but it was rather her two friends who robbed and unalived the lecturer. When asked where her two friends were, she indicated that they had bolted and were on the run. So as it stands now, her two friends, Walex and Smart, are being hunted for by the police, whilst Joy Afekafe is also in police custody, charged with the gruesome unaliving of this lecturer of the Federal University of Technology, MENA, in Nigeria. This is where everything begins to come together. Why some people are stating that in as much as they have busy schedules, they will rather try and balance that with how they manage their families instead of ever bringing in a third person, because you don't really know anything about this third person. And I agree, because, take a company for example. Even when you are going to get employed, most companies who are serious would ask you to go for a police report, background checks, character references, and a whole lot of things. But that in itself is still not enough in some instances, because some of these people will bring all these and still later do something crazy. So comparatively, how much more going in for a help in your own home? This help will be sleeping and waking up with you in that home, and you are not able to tell what is going on in the mind of that help. You don't know the family history of this person. You don't know their security background. You don't know anything about these people. They just look seemingly humble, broke, and in need of help. And I think that is dangerous to just go by, because by the time you would know these people are capable of other things, you're already living with them. Sometimes your kids will be suffering it on your blind side, and there are several videos to this. In actual fact, there's a similar case that happened here in Ghana just over 2 months ago, where similarly, a house help, this time a boy, who had been employed for just barely 2 weeks, actually conspired to rob and eliminate his boss, also a woman. So it looks like the youth of today, some of them are so in tune of making quick money. They don't understand the concept of working hard to earn your keep and breaking a sweat to earn what you are looking for. They want the quick cash, so it seems like crime is getting to look more and more attractive. Other than that, why would such young people be getting themselves involved in this? I'm hoping that the police will fast track this. These two friends on the run, Walex and Smart, I hope they are caught early, and I hope that Joy Afekafe is also taking through whatever she needs to face with the law. She cannot get away scot-clean after this, because she has played several roles. With my layman law, at least I know she is going to be guilty probably of conspiracy. Yeah, because she conspired with these people and she actually led them to the place. There are going to be several charges that I think will be leveled against her, and I don't think she'll get off scot-free. So, what do you think about this case? Are you okay bringing people to your home as helps, especially if you have a family, kids, a husband, a wife, and other relatives in your home? Or you agree that it's better you just manage it yourself, no matter how challenging, because at least you are guaranteed of your safety and security, and you eliminate the probability of inviting any psychopath into your home. Subscribe to the channel if you are yet to do so. Keep an eye out. Stay safe out there. I'll catch you next time.